Alright, so we are continuing with Labradorite, usually coming out of Madagascar. And this flash is known as Labradorescence. It is in the feldspar family, and it's known for these just beautiful range of color flashes. And the purple, like that, is definitely a little bit more of the rare colors. Usually you'll see some greens, a lot of blues, sometimes more in the orangey spectrum. Here you have like a little bit of everything that's really cool. So we have different palm stones, we have tumbled, hearts, wands. Sometimes we have these really cool moons. Sometimes less flash, but they have to carve these out of a bit more of the structured, firmer parts of the labradorite. Here you have some nice part polished pieces. That one's really crazy flash. Absolutely beautiful. You can see it in its kind of raw state. Now labradorite I usually find called the stone of magic or insight. People often come into the store asking for protection, and I'll usually go to labradorite and black tourmaline. And because labradorite, because of that flash, it has that energy of like reflecting. Because of that reflective nature, with your intent to be strong in your own energy and to reflect back out anything that's not of your own harmony and your own good, the best for you. So a lot of beautiful different styles, and we also have some rings, some cabochon style, and a few pendants. We'll always have some variety of labradorite jewelry. And like pieces like this, the 72 has a lot more sterling here. Here's another one with a nice beautiful flash. And just staring into the flash, has this mesmerizing quality and really activates the third eye. That's why I say it's activating and moving the insight, the energy of the third eye, that reflective nature. It's very magical. So of course those are like your better pieces. They trim out a lot of this material to find flash like that to set in jewelry. One reason why some cabochons and labradorite or moonstone tend to be a little bit more expensive, because they have to go through a lot of material just to find those few beautiful spots. So that is the labradorite. I have to show this one more time. And sometimes, it also with perception, changing the stone, you get to see the colors. So you have to shift your perception in order to see the truth, And sometimes we have problems doing that in life because we're stuck into one way of seeing or one way of perceiving. So labradorite can help shift that too. Definitely one to have in the toolbox. Alright, next is larvacite. Also, they call it black labradorite. And some of this material has been found in India as well, and polished in India. It's interesting because if you go to a granite store, you'll see it as countertops, and it has beautiful little flashes, hence why they call it black labradorite, because of the darker gray tones. But then you'll come across these nice flashes of light. It is also in the feldspar family, and the different layers create these really cool flashes. But yeah, definitely in the granite tabletop type family as well. Meaning in granite stores, you'll see that. and it's definitely a little bit newer on the market. They probably said, hey, if it's in granite, it looks cool, let's tumble it and make things out of it too. So we don't have too many types. I do have bracelets as well, but what I find about this material, it does have that Schiller effect, they'll call it, of the little pockets of flash, also labradescence. But it has an energy of moving down and out, meaning as an energy that is grounding and comforting. And because of that kind of movement down and out, it's very good for stabilizing your energy field, connection to the earth. If you're airy and flighty, then this would be a good appropriate stone to work with to kind of level yourself out and to not just ground down, but to ground out and to become like having a wider stance, and not just standing straight up, but opening the legs and being able to stand as like a triangle or like a pyramid. So you have more stability in how you're grounded. So that's your black labradorite larvikite. All right, up next, going a little bit deeper into the green territory. Here we have malachite, also a well-loved mineral from either Argentina, like this particular piece, or usually the Congo, South Africa area. And definitely a beautiful, sought-after type material because of the movement that it has and these beautiful like plumage effects that the mineral will have when it grows, and then when polished correctly, and especially you can see it in tumbled as well, these different layers and lines. And this piece is really cool because you have the polished of just this really rich green, but then it's all raw on the other side, so it's very nice to connect with. Wonderful feeling. And here you got like little bitty itty bitties, nice little green guys, natural. They're so cute. Great for like a medicine pouch or grid work. Now malachite is all about, I'll usually call it like an emotional purger. It's very good for the solar plexus, just below the heart chakra, and of course the heart chakra. It has an energy of courage, and as a strong copper-based mineral, it has a lot of movement and energy of just like copper wires. Anything copper-based helps with allowing movement within stagnation of energy within the body. And then these slices I'm showing now are actually like stalactites. So they'd have long fingers of these stalactites or stalagmites growing from the ceiling or the ground, and then finding these beautiful layers and rings just like little tree slices. And so, I wonder how many years it is, each ring. This it's a little bit heavier. It's really cool though. It's like a nice big bullseye. Also, people really love malachite as a bit of a grounding stone as well, more like kind of like the grounded heart, connecting deeper with oneself in the aspects of kind of self-worth and that courage within, and also a lot of creativity because there's just so many lines and every piece has a different, as Jewel likes to say, a story to tell. You have one way to look at it here, and then you move the stone and you see different layers and lines. It has a lot of creativity to share. Also have cabochons, really nice to do jewelry work with. A really excellent healing green here in sterling silver. Now, it's important to note that malachite is one of the minerals you don't want to put into water to do elixirs because of that high copper mineral mineral rate. That it's not good for the toxicity of the water. And then last in this family, I have some really spectacular special fibrous malachite that's just totally natural. It's just so beautiful. So in this material, it's like you can literally see each individual almost like hairs, but it grows in the same fashion. It's just this is a little more solidified. A lot of expansion, a lot of very mesmerizing. Here's a different, smaller growth pattern. This is so cute. It's like a whole forest and wonderland, mountainsides. It's very inspiring. So that's the fibrous malachite. This material is from the Congo. All right, moving on. All right, next on to serpentine, which definitely grows in many areas of the world. For instance, we have serpentine from India, we have serpentine from South Africa, and then serpentine from, let's see, this is the Pakistan region. And then you have a specialty serpentine with stitchite, trade named the Atlanticite. That is from, let's see, Tasmania. Yeah, Tasmania. So each one feels very different. Sometimes when you have minerals from different locations, it can be the location itself in the mineral growth giving the energy difference, or it's growing with other minerals that help to influence the energy in a different way. So in general, the serpentines, like we got these little palm stones for 12s, and then for 16s. This is the Pakistan material. All serpentine is a magnesium based mineral, so all of it's going to be very beneficial to the physical body, especially with any sort of muscle tissue, muscle growth, aspects of healing and health. So I find overall the Pakistan material to be just very soothing. It has an energy that, I don't know, almost feels like it goes into the cellular level and is soothing. Something about cellular memory. Say that 10 times fast. And then, like, for instance, the infinite had an energy of a little bit more, I don't know, soothing grounding. And then, oh, I forgot about this one too. This one is Asterite. And this I found, one, it looks really cool. It has just such a, I don't know, it has a lot of personality, and it kind of reminds me of, well, like the serpent, that snake skin or reptile skin. So that alone has just a personality to it. But I found this to have like a sparkly slightly prickly energy of around the aura. So like I felt an expanse almost in every direction, but more, I don't know, pinpointed, like expanding in an intentional way towards something. So that's what I got about that. Now, all out of all the serpentines, I found the most interesting the Atlanticite, and predominantly because it has this stitchite, which is in really good light. It's almost like a purple tone, but it's all these little dots of purple in here. Now, here's a really great specimen, of course, in sterling silver. This one, because its size is a little bit rare. But the energy I got was a very expansive and moving like up and out, meaning because of this, the purple tone of the stitchite, it does have a third eye connection and activation, working also with the crown chakra, but just like you can be able to have access to information and more from universal flow, that you're able to download and open yourself up to channels of energy that weren't there for you before, or they were there for you but you weren't able to access them. So here with the Atlanticite, that opens up that connection, that gateway almost. Overall, definitely a very healing color. That again with that soothing, magnesium-rich mineral for the body. If you have any sort of physical healing to do and torn muscles, torn ligaments, anything of that nature, this is great for the cellular repair as well. Alright, and next we have Epidote, which definitely seems to come across a few areas of stones. For instance, next we're going to be going into Prehnite, and it grows with Prehnite a lot. And in a few different forms. Here we have from Peru, some nice cool tumbled, which you definitely have to have a firm, solid type of epidote, because it usually grows in clusters that we'll see. So to have a firmness of epidote into tumbled is a nice thing to find. Not too common. And then even more uncommon are these basically tetrahedrons. I couldn't believe it. Tim and I were on an expedition seeking out new stones, and we came across this little batch, and I don't know, we were both like, what? Like the fact that these are not cut and polished into this shape. It's just, I don't know, blows my mind. It makes me really appreciate and always have a new wonder at the growth pattern of crystals, and just that consciousness, because they're growing in this form, which is very unique, but they usually grow in like a cluster form. Like this is from Morocco. Really nice little crystals growing up there. More of a kind of a pale light green. And then you have this one's from Peru. There's a happiness to this. It is a deeper heart chakra, earth connecting type of mineral. Some say it helps with depression and helping to lighten the load on the mental spectrum. But of course, anything that's sparkly that can reflect light is always a happy stone. This does have a bit of iron growing throughout it, so it has a kind of like a grounded heart aspect that I find with it. And then once in a while I find some really gorgeous solid crystals like these here. I'll show another one. Now these, I think these are also from Peru or South America. Got these ones a while ago. But I just love this large, solid crystal growth. So when you find crystals of this nature that are much firmer, a solid crystal versus something that's a little bit lighter and has less dense mineral growth patterns. But in material like this, there's a steadfast to it. There's a solidity, that connection with the heart chakra I find quicker in your development or movement or healing in that area. And of course, you never know what type of colors you're drawn to, because you have different shades of green, and so there's a little green spectrum for everyone. Oops. And so next we're going to go into the prehnite that has epidote with it. And the first piece is right here. So here we see the prehnite botryoidal, kind of the spherical growth pattern, which if you were to cut this in half, it would be like this kind of gemmier green. And you have that rich, dark green of the epidote crystals, which in a fine point grow like this. So here we have these absolutely gorgeous wands from India. So you can see the needles of the epidote and this like just gorgeous gemmy green of the prehnite. Prehnite by itself will look kind of like that. And let's see, then we have something that's a little bit in between. So you can almost see tiny little needles of the epidote in there. It's like they're a family, they grow together. Even some jewelry. You have the epidote in there. So this mineral of the epidote is all about forgiveness. So because you have the epidote, which is the heart healer on a deeper, solid level, and then you have the prehnite, which is the forgiveness and kind of a soothing of the emotional fields and helping to soften the rigidity that we find in the emotional patterns when we're triggered in a negative way, or when we've been hurt, or when things are done to us that we react in a way that creates the pattern and denseness of being angry at a person, or having disdain, or just the hurt in general creates that pattern that's negative for you. It doesn't do anything to the person, they just continue living their life. But when we hold that pattern of not forgiving someone and holding the anger against them, then it only wreaks havoc in our life, not theirs. So when we find forgiveness with stones like this and their help, then we can allow that to dissipate, that pattern, and have the forgiveness, which lightens us up and allows room for growth and room for something new. So that's prehnite with epidote. So here we have chlorite included quartz, and from a few different areas. Right in the center are some pieces that we just got in from Madagascar. And chlorite is, sometimes they'll call it garden quartz, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it has a lot of different images, and almost sometimes looks like moss is growing inside. Also, sometimes Lodolite is growing within it, which is more, I think, of the grayer material. So these points are from Madagascar. Sometimes you'll see scenes, and this looks like three-dimensional, but it's this flat layer, very thin layer right there, and a little bit growing kind of inside. And it can have like lithium and zinc and calcium and magnesium and iron trace elements within the chlorite. Sometimes also creating very fine particles, creating phantoms inside as well. Oh, nice rainbow in there. Here you have some other hair rutile needles in there. It's a very kind of whimsical, magical, mysterious type of mineral in the quartz, because it just, I don't know, creates a whole nother landscape and connection to nature. Here you have in quartz, and you can see these like phantom lines in there. Anything phantom oriented is helping with layers of growth and seeing where you were or where you're going, like peeling back the layers of the onion. Here you can really see the phantoms in there. Now what happens is that, there you go, you can really see it. When the quartz was growing, so before this was tumbled, the actual point of the crystal was somewhere over here, because you can see how that darker triangular shape was the actual surface of the crystal. So when it was growing in its cave or mud bank or little geode, wherever it was coming from, the chlorite mineral grew on top of the quartz, and then the quartz continued to grow over that. And then sometimes you'll find all those layers, so chlorite deposited, and then quartz grew over it. Chlorite deposited, quartz grew over it. So you have many, many of these layers. So it has an energy of consistency as well, and growth expansion. Then you have pieces like this. These are from the Himalayan mountains, very high altitude. And here you can, the chlorite is like very deeply, densely grown in with the quartz. Or you have these beautiful single needles. And then you have stuff from Pakistan, which tends to be a little bit lighter, but you can see how it grows over the top, leaves the quartz kind of clear in the center. So in here it's growing more densely right here, and then all over the back part too. So chlorite definitely has a lot of fun, a lot of variety, and especially in the quartz form that's clear, it just gives a lot of, I don't know, some creativity and almost inspiring imagination into other worlds, and for me connecting with the fairy realm and the elementals and that kind of earth magic. And that's the chlorite family.